Welcome. This video is the first in a series that will be outlining how to manage retainers in FunctionPoint. This video will outline the simplest style of retainer, where you are billing your client a set amount each month, and the services provided within the month are typically predetermined. There is not a list of deliverables that your client might request that could be considered part of the retainer. The work you are doing on a month-to-month basis is generally the same. A good example of this would be an SEO retainer, or perhaps a social media marketing retainer. Before we go any further, it will be important for you to know some of the basics of FunctionPoint, such as basic navigation, how to create estimates, open jobs, and depending on your role in the agency, how to create invoices and read financial reports. We're going to start by looking at an example that I've created for this video. I'm going to navigate to the details page of a job. Here I'm looking at a job called Mac & Co. SEO Retainer for our client McDonald & Company. It is the monthly retainer for the management and coordination of Mac & Co.'s SEO strategy. This retainer was opened on the 1st of August, and it has a 12-month contract. Therefore, the delivery date is the 31st of July, 1 year from its creation. If your retainers have a shorter contract, adjust the time span accordingly. If they have a longer contract or are month-to-month and could theoretically go on forever, you'll still want to keep the delivery date as 1 year from the creation. At the end of the year, you will close this retainer and open a new one. Next, we're going to be doing a detailed review of this retainer's financial structure. Before we do, I want to point out the invoices. You should be invoicing on the 1st of the month for the services provided within that month. Since this retainer was created on the 1st of August, I have two invoices, one for August 1st and one for September 1st, as it is now the 15th of September. Now let's look at the Financials tab for a deep view into this retainer's financial structure. Notice that the service group and service structure is quite simple. I have a service group called Retainer Services and a single service called SEO. If you require additional details, feel free to add them in. You might want to track things like client admin time or non-billable issues. So feel free to add as many line items here as you need. In this example, we're looking at a retainer that we're billing $2,000 per month, and that consists of 20 hours of work. The reason that the estimated amount is the monthly billing amount and not the total value of the 12-month contract is for ease of billing. If the estimated amount is the amount you intend to bill each month, it makes creating the invoice very simple. It also means that if you're doing a multi-invoice session, perhaps to create an invoice for every retainer job all at the same time without doing a lot of manual work, it allows for an automated process. So you'll want to have the estimated value equal the value that you intend to bill the client each month. However, the actual value represents the value of all hours entered against the job since its creation. Therefore, the actual value is going to grow to be substantially larger than the estimated value. For this reason, when reporting on the performance of retainers, the ability to filter the information by date ranges will be crucial. Let's continue reviewing the other financial values before we look at reporting on performance. You'll notice we then have the cost value. This is the hourly cost value of all time entered against the retainer. The actual value is the billable value of all time entered against the retainer. The variance is the difference between the estimated and the actual. If you do not filter this information by date, this variance will grow to be a very large amount. However, the invoice value will always be up to date. Since you are billing on the 1st of the month for the services provided within that month, the invoice value will always represent the value of the retainer up until the date that you're at. The last value is very important. It compares the amount that has been invoiced to the value of the work that's been done. Therefore, this final value is an overall performance of the retainer since its creation. If I want to see how a retainer performed in a certain month, I would do so by limiting the date filters. Let's say that I want to see how this retainer performed in the month of August. I would choose a start date of August 1st and an end date of August 31st. Choose to filter by date, and I can see that this 20-hour, $2,000 monthly retainer, in the month of August, we worked on it for 24 hours with a billable value of $2,400. We went over by $400. However, in the agreement with our client, we are only invoicing them for the monthly retainer amount, which is $2,000. Therefore, again, we went over by $400, and we are not recuperating that value. We're currently halfway through the month of September. If I want to see how this retainer is performing in the month of September, I would do the same thing. Enter my start date as September 1. If I type in today into the end date, it'll fill in as September 15th. Filter by date. And we can see that for the month of September, our 20-hour retainer for $2,000, we currently have 17 3/4 hours against it. There's only $225 left in the budget. However, we're only halfway through the month. It looks as though the month of September, like the month of August, we're going to be going over on our monthly retainer. We've already invoiced $2,000 at the start of the month, as you should be doing. Therefore, the final difference here is $225. So just to recap, when we want to look at the overall performance of the retainer in its entirety, we will filter out the date information, and we will then look at the final plus-minus column to see the difference between what we've invoiced and the value of the work that we've done for the entire lifetime of the retainer. When we want to see the performance of the retainer on a month-to-month basis, we'll enter the date range, choose to filter by that date range, and then use either the variance column or the plus-minus column, which, if you are billing the retainers on the first of the month, should be equal. The process for billing the retainer is very simple. Because the estimated amount equals the monthly value that we bill every single month, all we need to do is select to add an invoice for this job. The default calculation for an invoice is 100% of the estimated value. Therefore, all I need to do is select Create, and an invoice will be generated for, in this case, $2,000. I can then produce my client-facing version. It's a one-button invoicing process. Furthermore, because the value of the estimate is $2,000, it means that we are able to run a job find for all of our retainers and run a multi-invoice session from the list that we find. This will allow us to invoice all of our retainers all at the same time with just a few clicks. For more information on multi-invoicing, please refer to the help site for webinars, videos, and documentation. Just a few other things. If we go back to our jobs details page, a few other things I want to mention is adding things that you might need on a month-to-month basis. Say, for example, a brief. You might want to add a brief on the last day of every month that outlines the strategy for the month to come. You may also want to add tasks from time to time. If you need to assign work related to this retainer, all you need to do is select to add a task and then fill in the details, such as the title, description, when it's due, who it's assigned to, budgeted hours, priority, and so forth. Submit to assign the task, and you've assigned a task related to this retainer. Staff people can then track time to the tasks that you assign them or straight to the retainer, and doing so is very simple. All they need to do is select the job that they're working on, in this case our Mac & Co. SEO retainer. Select the service, there's only a single option in this case, enter our time, and submit. That time will then be included in our jobs financials. That concludes this video on the process for managing a simple style retainer. The next video, we're going to be looking at the process for managing a retainer where there are multiple sub-deliverables. perhaps each with their own schedules, their own separate briefs, and own requirements that are all included in a monthly retainer. And as always, please continue checking out more of our videos for more helpful information on using FunctionPoint.